I will get us kicked off. I just want to first of all say welcome to everybody. Thank you for being here on the call today. We are really excited about today's call, and I'm happy to be the one kicking it off because this call is all about you, and it's helping you get the most out of your performance. We've all heard the saying, if you can change your thoughts, you can change the world, right? Well, this is what we're talking about today. We're about changing our beliefs, which will change our results. And the title of today's session is called You've Got to Believe. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you Travis Cheney, who's going to be taking us through the content of today's call. For those that don't know Travis, I'd love to do a quick introduction. He is the CEO of Dynamic Directions and is also a certified master coach. He has coached advisors just like you to places on the Barron's Top 1,200 Financial Advisors list, the Barron's Top 100 Female Advisor list, and Forbes list of Best in State Wealth Advisors. He was the Franchise Consultant of the Year in 2011, 2014, and 2018. So Travis works with financial practices all across the country and coaches 20 coaches inside of Dynamic Directions as well. He's also the author of 2 books. One is called The 3 CEOs, the 3 most important roles entrepreneurial financial advisors play. And the second book is called Turbo Growth, Proven Strategies to Create an Extraordinary Life and Financial Planning Practice. So I am thrilled to turn this content over to Travis. And I just want to say thank you all for making the investment of your time to start changing your beliefs, which will also change your results. Travis, I will turn it over to you.
Dawn, thank you. I am so glad we have that on recording because if I'm ever feeling a little bearish about life, I'm going to go back and just listen to that intro. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm humbled to be here with some of my Ameriprise colleagues. Just so you all know, I'm in my 28th year, along with being a franchise consultant. I also am a partner in a CAC practice called Align Wealth Management. My business partner, Drew Watson, runs that. We've been together the entire time we've been at Ameriprise, 28 years. We have locations here in Owensboro, Kentucky, which is our hub, and we have locations in Louisville, Kentucky, 2 in the Nashville area, and 2 in Southern Illinois. So as I speak to you today, not only do I speak to you as a consultant, but I speak to you as a colleague who owns 42% of a CAC practice. So I bring that to you, and I'm just as interested in learning as I am in teaching and coaching consulting, because a lot of what we do at Dynamic Directions, not only to help our practices that we work with like you, but it's also to help the practice that I'm involved with. So today our topic is you gotta believe. And what I mean by that is, and Dawn, you referenced a quote about if you can change your thoughts, you can change the world. And it is so true. And oftentimes advisors come to us and say they want different results, and they think they have to change their behavior, which is true. However, if your beliefs are not in alignment with the result you want and the behaviors, then what happens is those results are probably not going to be there. And if they are, they're erratic and they're not sustainable. So today we're going to talk in the context of how beliefs matter, how they guide you, how through our work with dozens of top advisors here at Ameriprise and industry-wide, some of the belief systems that they've adopted that has led to their success. And so we're also going to get into some things behind how all the beliefs work as well. So I'm excited to be here. I would say that we have a small, intimate crowd. I'm going to stop and check in with everybody every so often here. If you've got questions or comments, let's make this interactive as much as possible. So you've got to believe. So rules of the game. Rules of the game to me are some of these underlying beliefs that really guide these top practices. And if you see me looking over here, just so you know, I'm tuned in. I just have some notes that I want to make sure that I capture in that. But the rules of the game, here's some of the things that I've noticed about top advisors. First and foremost, they question everything. And what I mean by that is just they're never satisfied. In fact, the term I like to use is a term my coach taught me years ago, is they're constructively dissatisfied, which simply means if there's a better way to do it, I want to find it. It's not that I'm trying to, throw the baby out without the bathwater here, but I'm always just trying to improve. And I'm okay if someone comes at me and wants to question the way we do business. I don't get defensive. I look for that input. I look for that feedback because everything is changing and evolving. So they want to question everything. The next one is be bold. I haven't met anyone in any profession that has risen to the top 1% of their profession without being bold. And what does that mean? Really, it's talking about managing risk, the ability to analyze risk and take approach to decision making where they really know who they are, where they're going, and how they need to get there. And they can manage the risk, the decisions that go along with it. In fact, for the advisors that know who they are, know where they're going, and know how to get there, decision making is actually really easy for them. As things are thrown at them, they just run it through that who they are and where they're going and how they're going to get there. It either fits or not. So being bold also implies that if you know how to manage risk, you know how to take risk. And so the advisors that I see that are very successful are the ones that they're not afraid to take risk. Now they take calculated risk. In other words, things are thought through, but they take risk, and it seems to the normal person, they're taking a higher amount of risk. But to them, to these entrepreneurs who are very successful, it's just a way of life. It's the way they do business, and they feel like it's necessary to grow. If it's not broken, break it. They're, again, kind of like to question everything. They're not looking to stay status quo. So technology comes to mind here when I think about it's not broken, break it. If you all have been around the Ameriprise for the last 5 years, you've seen an immense amount of investment by the Ameriprise in technology to really enhance the overall digital experience and the way we market now and brand ourselves. And so they're again breaking things, knowing that if I'm going to get somewhere, whatever I did today, I may not be able to do tomorrow, which gets into the innovation. And that's beyond technology. That's just paying attention to trends. It's paying attention to clients' needs and building, the platform or the solutions that really are relevant today. I'll tell you a quick story. I worked with this advisor. He was an older gentleman. His name was Mike. And one time we got into discussion of, do you want to be a relic or do you want to be relevant? And Mike, super nice guy, had placed one of his kids or grandkids' dinosaurs on his desk. And he said, Travis, every day I look at that dinosaur to remind me that I don't want to be the relic. Because you may know some people not like Mike, but maybe they've been retired for the last 3 or 4 years and they don't know it. That means they've become a relic. They stopped innovating. They stopped moving forward. And over time, those types of practices or businesses are going to decline. And it's a silent decline. They don't even really know what's going on. But that's why we want to innovate. So if you're not questioning everything, I would encourage you to do that. I would examine how bold have you been in the past and how bold do you want to be if you want to grow? What needs to be broken right now? In other words, you look across the platform, your systems, your way of doing business, the methodologies, what do we need to break? And then how are we constantly innovating? Dawn referenced my first book, Tober Growth. I talked about in personal development, we all want to be lifetime learners. If you really want to excel in a career or any topic, you really have to take on this. I'm a lifetime learner. You want to be a student of the game. You constantly want to be thinking about what's out there. What do I need to learn? How do I hone my craft? How do I master the fundamentals? So those are some of the beliefs that I found around rules of the game. Anybody have any questions or comments on that? And feel free just to speak up. There again, we got an intimate crowd here. Nope. All right. So let's talk about your why. Before we start looking at how your brain works, I pulled a quote. I don't know if you've ever read the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I would highly recommend it. I think it's like maybe the #2 or #3 most read book of all time. And it's about Viktor Frankl, who's a Holocaust survivor. And he has a unique perspective because he was a psychotherapist. And so he, one, documents what they went through the Holocaust. So I'll warn you, it's very gruesome. It's very brutal because it's very descriptive of actually what happened when he was in the concentration camps. The other half is where he looks at it from the psychotherapist's eyes and what did he learn from that experience? Why did people survive? Why didn't people survive? And then how do you apply that in your own life? But what he said is those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. So in other words, if you know your why, no matter how tough the how is or the what, you'll endure it. But if you don't know your why, more than likely you're not going to probably endure things as things get tough. Because he also said, in some ways, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning, such as the meaning of a sacrifice. So I can tell you, any entrepreneur I've ever worked with, they put in a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice. And what makes that sacrifice worthwhile is they have meaning behind it. And that's why it's so important that I believe you know your why. Now, before we get to knowing your why and how to define that, I also want to take you through just some basic things about how our brain works, especially when it comes to changing the beliefs. So many of you have probably heard left brain, right brain. So let's talk about the left brain. To bring this to life, your left side of the brain is the here and now. It references a jukebox in there. So if I say something like Green Bay Packers, right, you probably had an instant reaction. If most of you are up in, in the Chicago area or Chicago Bear fan, it probably was negative. That's okay. That's that jukebox. You heard Green Bay Packers, right? If I said Chicago Bears and you're a fan, you have a different reaction because you've built up this experiential map around that particular word. And I say something and that's going to trigger it. So it's in the here and now. There's no emotion. There's no long-term memory. There's no questions. There's no judgments. It's just these neural paths that have built up. It's just kind of the way you are. So, subconsciously, it just takes over when you're not thinking. That's your left side of the brain. The problem with the left side of the brain is if you want more in life or more for your business and you want to change, it's the very part of your brain that is holding you back because it's fighting anything new because it wants to stay on these old habits and old ways of thinking. So that's your left side of the brain. Right side of the brain. This is where your perception control center is. In other words, if you think about your brain as a lens on a camera, if you have that a lens and you could manually manipulate the lens, you can see things can go in focus, far, wide, and so forth. That's what the right side of the brain, it allows you to see things differently. It allows you to challenge the left side of the brain. It's the manual control. It's also where imagery and visualization has occurred. It's the part of the brain that, as I'm talking right now, is converting words into pictures, almost like a video camera in your brain. So if you're looking to change or modify a belief, we must turn to the right side of the brain. We must activate that because the right side of the brain can literally watch what's going on in your life and say, hold on, time out. I don't want to be that way. I don't want to think that way. I don't want to believe that way. And that can literally stop you. I know that at times when I've had my own challenges with health, the right side of the brain has been very helpful at 10 o'clock at night when I'm heading to the freezer to get the ice cream. It literally can help me stop and think about belief-wise, is this what I want to believe right now? Is this going to be healthy for me at 10 o'clock at night? No, it's not. But if I don't turn to that right side of the brain, if I don't have a purpose and meaning behind that goal or objective, my subconscious is going to take over. Left side of the brain says, ice cream's good, tastes good, eat it. So I'm bringing this to you because we're going to start talking about how do we define your why and what are those guiding principles. And we're really going to have to activate the right side of the brain. I'll stop for a minute. Dawn, do you have any questions or you want to call on anybody about what we've covered so far? Nope. Okay. So Your culture. Culture is a representation of your beliefs, expectations, and philosophies. It could actually go even further into that if you want to get into methodologies. It could be your tenets. It could be the fundamentals that you follow. It's basically your culture is defining who you are. And why is that important? I believe it's extremely important, especially as you hire and bring on new team members. To me, culture trumps skills, because if they're not going to fit in with who you are and the values that best represent you, the expectations and philosophies, they're not going to last long. In fact, they'll be disruptive. If you're trying to recruit and bring on practices or bring on financial advisors, there again, culture should be the first thing that we examine. So what is that? You should have culture defined in many of the things that's pointed out here. Your philosophy on marketing, positioning, operations, products and services, how you serve clients, how you serve your team members. It's really important that you define who you are in the context of these. So we're going to take a minute here. If you can, you're at your desk, write down what are the 3 strongest beliefs that guide you in your business. I'll give you about 30 seconds. All right. Who wants to share 1 or 2 of the beliefs they wrote down? This is where we got to get interactive, people. Dawn, what did you write down?
Travis, this is Greg Corey. I'll throw you one of my beliefs.
Perfect.
I think integrity has to be one of the one of 3 beliefs that guide your business. I also have a strong desire to grow as well.
So tell me more about integrity. What does that mean to you when you say that?
Putting clients first, growing by doing what's best for them, treating people the way that you would like to be treated, that you would want your loved ones treated. I got into this business because I saw a way to grow by doing the right thing. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and it's doing it when no one else is watching, right? Mm-hmm. Cool, I love that. And you said the second one was growth is a value that guides you?
Yeah, I'm a pretty aggressive, passionate fella, and I am very ambitious with my growth goals.
I can relate. Where do you think that stems from?
A short, bald man, Napoleon complex with a chip on his shoulder.
I love your honesty and vulnerability.
Yeah, I also work with my dad. I want to do everything I couldn't do on the baseball field growing up. I want to show that it was in our mutual interest to work together and grow.
Mm-hmm. No, it sounds like you're competitive.
Very competitive.
Yeah. No, I understand. I think, my growth, I relate a lot to that, playing sports all the way through college and just being a very competitive guy. Also always being pushed by coaches to get the best out of me. So I can relate. What else? Who else might want to share something? Thank you.
No problem.
Anybody else got a belief or 2 they want to share? Must be processing, just soaking it in. All right, let's talk about the other kinds of beliefs that are out there. The self-limiting beliefs. These exist. This is what's getting in the way of achieving your goals and objectives. In fact, you may have heard people say these, or maybe you said these to yourself. I'm too old, not smart enough, not educated enough. I'm afraid of trying. You have to make money. You have to have money to make money. All the good ones are taken. I don't have the willpower. I don't feel like I deserve it. I don't feel like I'm worth it. Those are all self-limiting beliefs. I think of it in terms of you have self-talk, literally things that are going on in your mind all the time. It's what you're telling yourself. Maybe you don't want you to tell yourself this, but in the back of your mind, these are the things that creep up. So when Dawn says, hey, what's your goals for 2023? And you put, I only want to grow by 5%, and she's challenged you to grow at least 10 or 12, usually these self-limiting beliefs start creeping up, right? I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have the capacity for it. I don't know if I can bring on new clients. All these things, they pop up, these self-limiting beliefs. And they're there. They're there for the highest achievers. These are the things that, can really get in your way from a different belief standpoint. So earlier, we were talking about the beliefs that guide you. These are the beliefs that derail you, along with fixed beliefs. So this is just a way of thinking that's automatic, kind of going back to if it's not broke, don't fix it. Why, that's a fixed belief. But the problem with fixed beliefs, there again, is they stand in the way of doing something different or change or getting a different result because you're locked into a certain belief that says, for the most part, this is the only way I need to believe to get what I want. So let's talk about, first of all, why don't you write down, let me go back, first of all, this sheet here. So below there, you may be able to see this. By the way, you're going to get all the presentation here and so forth. Nobody knows. I'm always the victim. I must be perfect. That's a big one. For the perfectionists on the call, just know perfection is the enemy of function, especially in our business, being that we expend human capital to be productive. So if we're trying to be perfect all the time, you're not going to be able to optimize the human capital, whether it's you or your team members. But these are some of the fixed beliefs that you would have. The rich only get richer. But they're again the types of beliefs that are holding you back, not in keeping you from maximizing your potential. So, real quickly, write down one self-limiting belief and one fixed belief that you believe is currently holding you back. I'll give you about 30 seconds here. All right. I think, Bob, you shared last time. What about Greg or Linda or Angela or Nicole?
This is Greg. I shared last time, but
Greg, I'm sorry, Greg.
I'm here for you. It could be a private training session for all I care.
Well, you know what? If no one else speaks up, Greg, you feel free. I'm trying to give others the opportunity here. Sorry about that. That's why I logged on over here to see the names. I can't see the names right now while I'm presenting, so I couldn't tell who was talking. Does anybody else want to share self-limiting belief?
Yeah, I have one. This is Linda.
Okay,
So
Linda.
I think my largest self-limiting belief is that I'm not confident enough. Now, a fixed belief, I'm having a little hard time with that one. I haven't written anything down. It took me a while to get that first one. So that's the one I have for you.
Okay, can I ask you some questions about confident then?
Absolutely.
When does that show up?
Well, I try not to let it show up, but I feel it most of the time. And, as I'm working, maybe when I'm dealing with either someone of superior nature or even a client once in a while, I worry that I'm not going to do the proper job or know enough to get, to be able to answer their questions or to help them in certain ways that they'd like to be, in order to help the advisor or whatever it might be.
Okay. Does that ever creep up when you talk about pricing and the value that you offer and the price that matches that?
No, it doesn't. Not in that area. No.
Okay. No, thank you for sharing. There again, because we're in the human capital business, confidence is one of those attributes that, you know, is obviously necessary because that's what people are really buying us is the confidence in us. So I appreciate
Right.
you saying that. And sounds like when you say superior, what does that mean? You said something about if you feel like someone might be superior.
Just maybe in a superior role over mine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, or higher in a company. And again, even clients, in my opinion, are superior to us. Even we service them, we work for them. So I'm always worried if I can't answer their question, how will they look back at me that I'm not able to answer every single question that they present to me.
Have you ever told a
And
client, I don't know?
oh yeah, and I'll find that answer for you, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
don't like it. Just because I say it doesn't mean I like to say it.
Okay. Well, at least you're saying that.
Yeah.
Well, I see a lot of advisors get challenged with this, especially when you're talking about clients as they move up market. So the bigger the clients they are, there's probably a confidence curve there.
Yes,
Does that make sense?
it
I
does.
remember bringing on $100,000 client and then bringing on $1 million client. That was quite different,
Right.
right? So, okay. No, thank you, Linda. Anybody
you're
else want to
welcome.
share?
I'll share, and this is Dawn. I'm sorry I had to step away just for a second, but I've been struggling with some self-limiting beliefs myself, and I think it just starting with a new company, I think is a big change, and you start doubting, the business, or I know the business well, but when you start with a new company, it's new people, new processes, new ideas, philosophies, things like that, and so you start to just have that self-doubt creep in. So I've been dealing with that a little bit, and luckily I have a great team that helps to reinforce my experience and things like that. But I think anyone starting a new company, there's just going to be a dip in your overall confidence, and that's one of the things I've been dealing with.
And you said something though, Dawn. Thank you for sharing, by the way. You said you're thankful you have a good team though. Tell me more about how you've been able to address that self-limiting belief then.
Yeah, I think part of it was just being honest with them that, I'm on a learning curve, and what it's doing to just the confidence that I would typically have in certain situations. And I think just being transparent and honest, I think has been really helpful to build the team, actually to be even make the team gel even more, because it's not me coming in and trying to change the world. It's me coming in and trying to learn the process. And I think it's created an understanding and maybe some patience along the way for people as well. So it's been good. It's been good.
So what I'm hearing is having kind of an understanding of situation where you are. You also being vulnerable and saying, I just don't know, right? Hey, help me. And you're asking for help. And so the other thing was patience has come from this. So I'm just kind of pointing out that, we have these self-limiting beliefs. It's how we cope with them. It's how we address them, which I'm going to talk about next. That's a big issue for all of us, especially if we're, I guess I would ask you, Dawn, when do you think you'll arrive? Meaning that when do you think you'll have a confidence maybe that you had in a prior job? What do you think the time frame is there?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. Every day gets better, and every day is great, but every day that confidence gets better the more I learn and the more exposure I have. So it's hard to say, but do we ever really arrive? I don't really know.
Well, I love that. I love that. I guess, it's kind of like going back to what Linda was saying is, at some point though, I think you go through these learning curves in life. I hope you do, because that means you're growing, you're being challenged, you're feeling uncomfortable. So, I think we all forget as humans that growth and discomfort, they're like this. In other words, I don't know too many people in life who's had growth without some kind of discomfort, right? Or sacrifice. So I think that's healthy, right? Part of being relevant, staying on top of things, is challenging ourselves and saying old way may not be the best way. But yeah, do you really arrive? That's that lifetime learning approach. I love that. So let's talk about then different ways to think about these self-limiting and fixed beliefs. The self-limiting belief, that's why I was asking Linda, when does this pop up? Because I think one of the things that we want to do is create some self-awareness around, and Dawn, even for you, you're talking about your confidence there, just in the new job. When is this self-limiting belief showing up? What are these triggering events? When is this happening? So one, we're aware of that, right? So if I'm going to a client meeting, they got a prospect meeting, they got 5 million in assets. Wow. That's probably when that confidence thing's triggered. Great. Let's know that, right? The second part is disputing the belief. Now, this is like a very logical approach in what I'm about to say, because we even use the word. If I go in and I have this self-limiting belief that I'm not confident or good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not experienced enough as an advisor to work with this $5 million client, is that going to help me get that client? No, I think we would all agree. So is that belief logical? Is that belief realistic? It might be realistic because it feels real, but it's not realistic if it's going to try and help you get there. And then will this belief help me? Probably not. So we just need to acknowledge what is that self-limiting belief and just run it through this logical test here. But more importantly, we got to establish a new belief, and we've got to figure out what new belief do I need to insert there to help me boost my confidence at that point. Hey, I already have 2 clients that have 5 million. They're very satisfied. They've sent me referrals. It's these affirmations, these new beliefs. I am worthwhile. I've already done this. Or even if I haven't done it yet, hey, I've got a $4 million, $3 million. What's the difference? Just numbers, right? The fundamentals and concepts on how I serve a client are essentially the same. The details might just sway a little bit. So in other words, we got to find a new belief that we can replace that self-limiting belief. And the more we're aware of when these triggering events happen, I'm already into a situation, and you can go through this exercise, that's one way to bolster, your confidence, so to speak, and help you cope successfully with that self-limiting belief. I'll stop for a moment. Thoughts or discussion on that technique? Greg?
I have here, but I have nothing to add. I'm
Okay. Good to go? Okay. Linda, thoughts on that?
I
So I'll just add-
apologize. I too
I'll
have
add-
nothing to add.
Well,
Okay.
Travis, I was going to say one thing. I mean, one of my limiting beliefs, you touched on it, is just the fact that, my experience might not match up to the ideal clients that I want to serve, I don't have my CFP yet, and I want to target high net worth clients. I mean, is that a disconnect type thing? So I have been thinking about reframing it, because it doesn't matter how many times I hear it, that the $1 million and the $5 million client are similar in the recommendations. They're just, you add a zero and whatnot, but it still takes a lot to really have that, have the desired impact on the way I approach my client acquisition. So.
Yeah, I mean, so I heard like the designation. I've heard that before from advisors, right? The designation would give me confidence. But what am I going to do if I come across the elephant, so to speak, and I don't have the designation? So what do you do in that situation?
I think in general, it really does come down to preparation as best you can. And, to your point, you can't know everything. If you're asking, if you're asking a lot of questions, you shouldn't know everything. And the majority of what you should be doing is listening. And then you could, act on it later, right? But to Lisa's point, I share the concern that, you're going to be asked something Linda, you'd be asked something in a meeting that you don't have an immediate answer to, but, that's okay. You just need to get back to them.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a great point, especially if it's a prospect. I mean, to demonstrate that you're listening and asking intelligent questions, they want to feel heard. They want to feel understood. And then think about it. Once you understand what their challenges are, what their goals are, you connect with them on an emotional level in the sense that you understand the importance. You not only hear what they're saying, but you feel what they're saying. Then I think when you would come back with solutions, if you've done a really good job of that, I think you're going to come back with outstanding solutions because you know exactly what they need, what they're looking for, right?
No, yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, again, getting back to my earlier point on integrity, I really, part of this is, you want to give them the best possible advice. You don't want to miss something. So it's as much, I guess, a confidence factor as it is just wanting to do a good job for them and their family.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I think that's a great question. I could probably answer that right now, but I'm taking in a lot from you right now. And I know there's also some other solutions. If it's okay with you, let's just keep this conversation going. Let me write that down and let me make sure I got a really good understanding of everything. And either today or our next conference or next session, I will definitely answer that for you. I just want to make sure I understand where you're coming from. Yeah. On the fixed beliefs, all we're trying to do with the fixed beliefs is help you understand there's a different way to approach this. That's all. Your fixed belief is not about it's right or wrong. But if it's not going to help you, we're going to go, then we need to figure out, is there a different way to think about this? And so there's some questions down there that you can ask. What are the advantages of continuing to think this way? What are the disadvantages? What has this belief gotten you into? What has this belief left you out of? So it's just really disputing the belief with the intention of, is there another belief in there that we can insert? So this rethink, reframe, refocus, it's going to be an attachment here for you. But I really think as you define who you are and where you want to go, you understand the culture, you're thinking big, you've got goals. When these self-limiting beliefs and fixed beliefs creep up, which they're going to do, I don't care who you are, this is just a very good exercise to pull in and really just think through the belief system and how that may have to change in order to get you where you need to go. So, alignment triangle, something very simple I learned almost 20 years ago when I got my Certified Master Coach designation from the Behavioral Coaching Institute. And it's simply put, I've said this earlier, but I'm just to illustrate, people want a different result in the bottom right-hand corner there. They think automatically I've got to change a behavior. Oh, I want referrals. That's what my result. So all I need to do is I need to learn a script, right? How many times have we heard that in our career? Just get the script, man. Where's your script? Let's practice how you're going to say it. However, if there's not a sense of conviction there, there's not a belief that you're worth the referral. There's not a belief that you have the capacity to serve that client. If they don't believe what you're saying when you say it, that result will probably not be there for you. So all this is illustrating is all three of these have to be in alignment in order to help you get where you need to go, especially if it's going to be different or better. So what I'd like to do, just real quickly here, write down on or type, everybody want to do this, on something just for you. What's a goal of yours, right? That's the what desired result do you want from your business? How are you going to feel once you accomplish your goals? That's really important. Going back to that right side of the brain that we were talking about earlier, that's the feeling side. That's where the amygdala, which is your emotional control center, is there. But studies have shown that if you actually can visualize your goal and feel what it's going to be like to hit it, you're making that neural path. All these new things it's like the glue that's adding to the way you think. So it strengthens the way you think on how to get there. So we can't discount emotion and your feelings. So then what I want you to do is, what are some positive beliefs you have right now about that goal, right? Going back to what are some core fundamentals, a core value that that's a positive belief that's going to help me get to this goal. What's one of these self-limiting or fixed belief, right? That's going to get in the way. Like Greg, you're talking about, I don't know, I don't have the CFP. I don't know if I can work with a $5 million client. That could be a self-limiting belief. Then what's the new positive belief that you would need to do to replace that, right? And then over here, it's the same thing on behavior. What am I doing right now that's positive, that's going to get me to that result? What are some behaviors, or it could be complacency, that's a behavior, doing nothing, that's getting in the way. And then what would have to be any new behaviors that would replace those negative? So I'm going to give you about 90 seconds here to really just kind of brainstorm. Don't overthink this. Just write down what comes to you right from your gut instinct. All right, who wants to share a little bit about their exercise? Maybe what they wrote down in a couple of these boxes.
Okay, I'll
Anybody who has
start. Yeah, I'll start. This is
Okay,
Linda.
go ahead, Linda.
So hopefully I'm doing this correctly, but for what desired results do you want from your business? You know, I'd like to work outside of my comfort zone, provide new solutions to clients, new products, just move away from our everyday and find new things. How will I feel once I accomplish those goals? Fantastic, and ready to move on to the next goal. A current positive belief, I believe that we provide value to our clients. But on the negative side of that, I feel like we don't have the right amount of time to provide enough value to our clients. So in order to correct that, a more positive belief for that, I'd like to work on changing our processes so that we can provide more value and better value.
There we go. You did it right.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
And was that easy to do?
No, I didn't even get to the behavior part because it took me that long to work on the beliefs. So that's why I stopped where I did. It wasn't easy.
So, the next, just for time's sake, I would go ahead and look at the behaviors, though. Keep going. Think this through.
Absolutely.
Right? And so just make sure you kind of complete this, and then you would put together an action plan. How do I need to believe differently going forward? How am I, what am I going to do every day to practice that belief? What are the behaviors that I need now to incorporate that are in alignment with this? So you're on your way. Good job, Linda. Anybody else have anything to share? By the way, Linda was being innovative there. Did you all hear that? One of those principles I talked right about the rules of the game. So great job, Linda.
Thanks.
All right, there again, we're going to attach this tool. It's a great tool to use. I don't care what your goal is or what your desired result. I use this all the time personally. We teach from this just to help people, because what is going on is you're in a pattern right now. And what we're doing is we're breaking down that pattern. How do I act? How do I think? How do I act? How do I think? And then what's the effect of that, which is the result. So if we want to change the result, we got to examine that pattern. More than likely, we got to change the pattern to get a different result. So let's talk about a couple people that that I have the privilege of working with. This is Ed Poach, good-looking guy there from Canonsburg, PA. He's got a couple offices. He also has one in West Virginia. I love Ed. He's coachable. He's action-oriented, high integrity. He's all about, what I think Ed shared with me one day. He learned that the moment I started looking at my practice as something bigger than me and not just me, and the moment I started thinking about how do I help not only my clients get where they need to go, but how do I help my team get where they need to go, that changed. And that's a different way of thinking, by the way. I remember that happened to me about 15 years ago when I started, my coach started challenging me to think about, look, you want to have success. Success is your goals. But if you want to have significance, significance is simply helping other people get where they need to go. And I felt like I was applying that to my clients, but I hadn't really taken that in to our team members. Now I'm a part of a couple organizations where we employ, either through an employee or independent contractor, over 60 people. I feel like my job every day is how do I help these 60 people get where they need to go? And Ed has done that and had some fantastic results. I mean, you can see in a very short period of time, he's doubled his business twice just in the last 7 years. AAM's gone up, advice fees. And Ed is now positioned for growth. He's helped create capacity now. He's got a couple acquisitions in the pipeline. He's moved out of the primary advisor role. He's only working with, I think, less than 100 clients. When I met him, he was working with about 400. He now has a bench to take on these clients that he's not only assigning, but any new clients. So he's just done a fantastic job. But it's how Ed believes now, this abundance mentality, this, life's bigger than me. I've got to help people where they need, I got to help people get where they need to go to get what I want. It's these kind of beliefs that have really helped Ed. Another one I'm really proud of, Scott Leifried. Whoops. Scott's out of Dubuque, Iowa. So he's not too far from you. Don, I think you said you're in Des Moines. But it's been incredible what he's done since 2018. All the awards. He's now a CAC advisor. He's also a coach of ours, and he was FC of the year last year as he's passing on the knowledge. But you can look, I mean, just in 2015 to 2022, what his equity has grown to. If you look at just what his GDC's grown through since April 15th and so forth, I mean, it's just been, oops, did I go backwards? Yeah, I'm sorry. Whoops, there we go. Yeah. In 2018, is at 1.3 million in managed account GDC. Now they're at 6.8 million. Equity, practice valuation. He has 4 other partners in the practice. He's the majority owner, but that's how much the value of his practice has gone up. And Scott, we profiled him. We do a year-end workshop every year. We call it D2 Live. It's our business planning. Scott did a wonderful presentation talking about how we sponsor, we haven't done this a while because of the pandemic, about every 2 years, we sponsor or co-sponsor a workshop with the Ritz-Carlton. And the Ritz-Carlton is well known as far as being one of the best luxury brands in the world. In fact, a great book to read is called The Gold Standard, which documents the history of the Ritz-Carlton. But the first half, the second half is how they've become this top luxury award winner. And they actually have a leadership center where they put on workshops. We've teamed up with them, I think, 6 times here in the last 15 years, where they teach us things like a credo. What's a credo? Well, credo is Latin for beliefs. It's what you believe. What's their service values? How they serve team members? How they anticipate clients' needs? How they practice, what is that? Antenna up, radar on. And how they anticipate. It's just a fantastic book. And Scott's incorporated all of this into his practice. And when he was presenting last November and going through how big his team was, I think they're 20 plus now. and people wanted to ask a lot of questions, he kept on going back to his credo. He goes, well, that's easy. That's an integrity thing. So we started with integrity, and then we made a decision from there. But each time there was a question, he went right back to the values. The reason why I say this is a lot of companies, a lot of people I've worked with, and when I come across them, they've written out their values, they've written out their vision, they've written out their mission, but no one's testing it daily. No one has at this point talked about how are we living it, and how do we take these words on a paper and breathe it into our everyday life. And that's when you've arrived, I believe, as a leader, is when it's not about just defining the culture, it's living the culture. And that's one of the biggest reasons Scott would tell you that they've grown so much. Scott also built a brand new building about 4 years ago. He built an extra 2,500 square feet, anticipation of growth. He's out of square footage now. If you'll notice, there's a grassy knoll over here. The next plan is to expand this building to go to our left. So that was good foresight on his part. So anyway, there's just some examples of some people we worked with that really, they know their why, they know what their core beliefs are. They are just as susceptible to self-limiting and fixed beliefs as you are, but they've really learned how to think through that, create self-awareness. What are those trigger events? How do they rethink, reframe, and refocus so that they can get what they want? So I'll pause here. We've got about 7 minutes left. Any questions for me based on what we've covered today, or comments? Just processing, is that what we're doing? Dawn, any closing comments today before we say goodbye here?
Yeah, actually, thank you very much. Travis, this was great information. I wrote down a lot of things. I love the fact that you've given us some very usable tools that we can take home with us. I loved the alignment triangle, the rethink, reframe, refocus, and the beliefs and behavior exercise. I wrote some things down for the behaviors and beliefs, and so it was just a really great exercise. Once we got started, I thought it was easier to go through, but getting started on that exercise, I struggled. But really just great information. I want to say thank you for taking the time, for spending your time with us, and for getting us to start thinking differently, because that's why we're here, is to think differently so we can get the results that we want for our businesses and for our practices. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone that has joined. We hope that you found this very, very valuable. Travis is a partner to us, and so please reach out if you think that he can continue to work with you and your teams to help you add value and add the results that you want for your practice. So just want to say thank you for everyone, and thank you to everyone for being here. And we'll let you all go back to your worlds. Thanks everybody.
Well, hey, Dawn, just
Thank
real
you.
quickly,
Yeah.
Everyone who attended is going to get a complimentary copy of my book, The Three CEOs. A lot of what we talked about today is documented through here, especially the who are you and the culture. In fact, the three most important roles, one of those roles is the Cultural Excellence Officer. That's one of the CEOs. So there's a lot of good information that we covered today. And if you want on there, just reach out to me. We'll send the follow-up through Dawn and so forth. But if you just want to schedule a 30-minute call to see how I might be able to put this to work to you, great. If not, I hope you did get a lot of value today. It was an absolute pleasure to be with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. It was a great seminar. Thank you.
You're welcome,
Excellent.
Linda.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.